Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. It is time for an unboxing and a first look. And the game we're looking at here is Glory and Empire, First Victories, Wellington versus Napoleon. This is from Lock and Load Publishing and is the first in a new series that would be Glory and Empire. And it is, as you probably can guess, a Napoleonic series. So this kind of came as part of that big bundle of, crowdfunding games that were delayed and people got angry and so on and so forth, along with World at War, Blood and Fury, and JU-87 Stuka Ace. So this one is obviously, as I said, it's a new design. It's designed by Terry Doherty. And here is a look at the back real quick. So it's a fresh look at grand tactical command, maneuver, and combat during the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic period. The system is focused on command, maneuver, and combat and is designed to be fast-playing, yet accurate and rich with detail. It is a hex encounter game with a scale of 125 meters per hex. Units are battalions and companies for infantry, regiments and squadrons for cavalry, and companies for artillery. Each strength point is 100 men for infantry, 50 men and horses for cavalry, or one section or 2 guns for artillery. It does talk about the 3 levels of this game. So this is different levels of complexity, kind of. More of a layered system. You have the Soldiers game, which gives players new to the era an introduction to foundational concepts of tactics in the horse and musket era. So that's pretty cool. The Battalion, which is the second level, introduces important concepts for maneuvering forces on the battlefield and has more detailed close combat procedures. And then there's the Brigade game, which is the full enchilada, so to speak. This adds columns, or close columns rather, attack columns, open columns, closed square, and division masses, as well as an additional type of cavalry charge, fog of war, more tools for the non-phasing player to react to enemy moves, and fatigue tracking. Contents in the box: 4 counter sheets, that'd be 600 plus counters, a 22 by 34 inch Vimeiro map, and a 22 by 17 inch Rolica map, 1 spiral bound core rule manual, 1 spiral bound companion book, and 5 11 by 17 inch player aid cards. Moving on. Okay, you can see scale. We talked about that. The time scale, each turn is 20 minutes. Map scale, 125 meters per hex. Playing time between 2 and 4 hours, depending on scenario. Players 12 years and up. Solitaire play or 2 players. There is a built-in solitaire system in this game as well. You can see complexity 3, 5, and 7 for the 3 different levels: Soldier, Battalion, and Brigade. Solitaire suitability, due to that solitaire system that's built in, is a 9. You can see the cards. This is the solitaire system. Action cards help drive the non-player faction, which could be either side. And you get a look at some of the counters as well. So I am going to crack into the shrink wrap here. You can see this is a thick box. It is a heavy box. It is, there's a lot of game in here. So I'm going to pause a moment and take the shrink off, and then we'll see what's inside. Nice thick box. It's got a nice textured feel to it. Not particularly glossy. You can see it reflects the light, but that's not too bad. Okay, so this is what we've got. It's actually in shrink. Our books, that is. You've got your 2 bookmarks that the publisher tends to include about mental health and so on here. As well as one that is more game specific. I think these are a nice touch. Then we have some overlays, which I think relate to Fields of Fire, judging by the look of them. Kind of what you can see essentially. So you can see that these are pretty cool. They're yellow, and they fit onto the maps, of course. Now here we have our companion book, which is a nice hefty looking booklet here. And we have our rules as well, which is a slightly less hefty book. Then we have maps, and we have player aids, and then we have counters and markers. Those would be markers. And these would be the counters down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the rule book, and we're going to do a quick rules overview. Look at the rule book and dig into that a little bit, and then we'll look at the other components, including the companion book and the maps and the counters and the cards and all that good stuff. And also, I forgot to mention, the expansion module. This is Assault on the Western Ridge. Comes in a tight little Ziploc here with the map, and feels like there may be some other stuff in here, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm going to pause again and rip the shrink off of here. I wasn't aware that this actually had shrink on it too. I don't like to waste a lot of time, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, let's look inside here. So the inner cover, a lot of table of contents in here. It got a little bent. It was in that shrink real tight. It was clutching it. So you got the Soldier's Game here. That covers a bunch. And 42 pages of stuff here. Then you got the Battalion Game, which is a lot, which is 50 pages, 51 about, of even more stuff. And then you got the Brigade Game, and that one covers probably 25 pages. So that would be the shortest one. But they kind of stack on top of each other, so you get the idea. Here's the rules for the Soldier's Game. As I said, the game's designed by Terry Doherty. And you've got, okay, so let's go through this, not in a ton of detail, but we'll just kind of look at you know, the main points, so to speak. So basically, you've got your intro, right? It's a game series devoted to Grand Tactical Command, Maneuver, and Combat, which is on the back of the box, so I don't want to repeat too much. So you go through your components, right? Your rules, which is this, charts, command displays, which we'll see, more charts, dice. 2 10-sided dice of different colors are required. When one die is rolled, the result is interpreted as 0 to 9. When 2 dice are rolled, one is the tens digit, and the other is the 1 digit. So you can get numbers ranging from 00 to 99. Then you've got your counters. You please refer to the all game side of the Glory and Empire player aid card, which is number 3, for the layout of the information on the unit counter. So it's not in the rule book. Okay, unit size, strength points, 100 infantry, 50 cavalry, 2 artillery pieces. Leader counter has 0 strength points and is not shown on the counter. You've got morale, you've got combat value modifier, you've got your movement allowance. Leaders, so you have your overall commander, then you have your ordinary leaders, which would be Army, Wing, Corps, Division, and Brigade leaders, aide-de-camp, or aide-de-camp, aka staff or supernumerary officers. Markings, command range, fire strength modifier, morale modifier. So your leaders do have an impact. Infantry symbol, 2 cross belts, okay, which is placed over a representation of the uniform. You kind of saw that on the back of the box. They have the little kind of uniform jacket symbol in the middle, and you can see which ones are infantry by the crossed belts, right? Skirmishers, your 2 types of skirmishers. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because my French is atrocious. Or my French is non-existent. My pronunciation of French words is atrocious. let me expand upon that. Fire strength, your cavalry stuff, artillery, your gun type, fire strength, markers, terminology. I don't really want to get into this too much. A lot of it, well, maybe not a lot of it. Some of it will be fairly self-explanatory. Some of it will not, I'm sure. Because you have countercharge, corps, right? A corps is a multi-division command echelon. In the rules, the term corps will always be used for such an organization. However, in the scenario rules, such a command could also be called a wing. The scenario rules will make clear which commands should be treated like corps, okay? Then just other things in here. What's a movement allowance? What's a movement point? Open terrain. And so you have light density terrain, medium density terrain, high density terrain, hex-side obstacles, skirmishers. All right, let me take a shot at this. Endebandanda, maybe? I don't know. And then Tirai Lors, I don't know. Like I said, terrible. Your TEC, zones of control, all that good stuff. Here's the important stuff. Sequence of play. Weather. Okay, so you determine your weather, then you have your command segment. And you do have nice little connotations here of where these rules are located, right? The command segment, which is performed by both players. You have an initiative phase. The player who won the initiative chooses which player goes first. So you can win initiative and choose to let the enemy go first. Command detachment phase, orders phase. Then you have your first player turn. So that's the one who goes first. The other one is the non-phasing player. So then you'll have your recovery segment, which includes rally phase and cavalry recovery phase. Your fire segment, then your movement segment. So it's fire, then movement. Your reserve segment, and then your close combat segment, which includes charge phase and assault phase. And the second player will do the same thing, except they switch positions, right? Phasing. The second player is now phasing, and the other player is now non-phasing. Then your end of turn, you have your leader replacement phase and your end of turn phase. Then we go into the breakdowns of what that is. So for the initiative, both players roll a die and add their overall commander's command initiative modifier, CIM, which I'm sure is in here, right there, to the die roll, right? And then you can attach assets to subordinate leaders. Assets, I believe, are units, if I remember. Assets are combat units that are indicated on the command displays reporting directly to a leader who has other subordinate leaders. So that would be, yeah, that makes sense. That would be what you would consider to be an asset, I would say. Okay, and then you have your order phase. So each side receives a limited number of orders to place on leaders. The player that lost the initiative places his orders first. So he's reacting, or he allows the initiative player to be reacting. Player turn recovery segment, your rally phase, where you attempt to rally your units. Cavalry recovery phase, he removes one spent marker from each of his stacks of cavalry that have one. Then the fire segment, you can fire all of your units that are eligible. Non-phasing artillery, so the non-phasing player may now make fire attacks with his artillery. And the artillery units may fire again during the player's respective fire segments. So you can fire here as the phasing player, and you can fire there as the non-phasing player, and then it flips over when the second player is going. Movement, you check your command status to see who's in and out of command. You place your out of command markers, remove them from anyone that's now in command. Then you do your movement phase. You can move your units, except for those with reserve orders. Units with reserve orders move during the reserve segment. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Then your reserve segment. And remember, this is the soldier rules, so this is the simple level, the basic level where you learn how Napoleonic warfare works, kind of. Very, very clever system. I like this. I like this concept. Reserve command status phase, then the reserve movement, then your close combat. The phasing player in close combat, phasing player cavalry, this is the charge phase, marked with a charge marker, now resolve their charges. At the end of the charge phase, you remove the charge markers. Assault phase, the phasing player's infantry that are marked with an assault marker now resolve their assaults. And then at the end of the assault phase, you remove all assault markers. End of turn segment, leader replacement. So leaders that were captured or became casualties may now return to play using the replacement side of the counter. End of turn, you remove orders markers, advance to turn marker. And command, okay. Fundamental purpose of command in this game system is to limit the amount of offensive actions an army can perform, commensurate with their historical capabilities. The command displays show the organization of the opposing armies and the command relationships between leaders and their units. They show the chain of command from the overall commander down to each brigade leader. Okay, so we'll see those when we get into the components. And you have your initiative check, where we know you roll a die and you add your your overall commander's command initiative modifier, the CIM, to that result. Player with the higher result wins initiative and decides who goes first. If the result's a tie and neither roll is an unmodified 0, re-roll the dice. See random events. So I guess if you both roll zeros, natural zeros, you get random events. If either player rolls an unmodified 0, a player rolls the appropriate number of dice again and consults the random event chart to determine the event to implement. In this case, the random event chart will indicate who wins initiative. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Number of orders. Using the same modified die roll, each player consults the order chart to determine how many orders he receives for the turn. So your initiative roll serves two purposes, therefore. Gives you who gets to decide in it, who goes first, but it also gives you your number of orders for the turn. So that's pretty cool. Leader modifiers. All combat units stacked with a leader benefit from his bonuses. This is true even if a leader is temporarily stacked with units during movement. If more than one leader occupies a hex, only one leader modifiers may be chosen to affect die rolls. The owning player may choose which leader's modifiers. A leader that is stacked with combat units which are completely eliminated while in an enemy zone of control may be captured. Enemy units that enter a hex solely occupied by leaders may capture them. You roll one die for each such leader. A leader is captured on a result of 8 or 9. Okay. If either of the above conditions occur while a leader is entirely surrounded by EZOC or enemy combat units, he's automatically captured. Leaders that are not captured are moved to the nearest hex occupied by friendly combat units. Just pick them up, move them. Replacements, right? If your leader is a casualty or captured, you flip the leader over on the following. You place them on the turn record chart. On the turn following, the leader units will be out of command for at least one full turn. During the leader replacement phase of the following turn, flip the counter over to reveal his replacement side and place him with any of his subordinate units. The leader now has the values shown on the reverse side. Okay, that makes sense. Aides de camp. Leaders that do not have any subordinate units, they are under no restrictions to remain in command. They're superior. They may move during the owning player's movement or reserve movement phases, but not both. They are essentially extra leaders that can be used at the owning player's discretion to aid in rallying troops, aiding in assaults and charges, etc. That is an interesting idea. I like it. All right, command status. So yeah, I mean, that's fairly... In the soldier and battalion games, a simple command range system is used. In the brigade game, the grand tactical formation system determines which combat units are in and out of command. In all the games, command range determines the command status of leaders relative to their superior. Okay. Reinforcements, more stuff about command range. We'll skip this for now until we do some gameplay, which we will. Not in this video, but down the road. Unit integrity, garrisons. You have garrisons. You have attachments that we already talked about. Then orders. So orders... Corps leader has 2 cavalry regiments in his reserve. As assets, he could attach both to a subordinate division or to one of their subordinate brigades. Cavalry would then trace to the division leader or the brigade leader using their command range, or the Corps leader could retain them where they must remain within his command range to be in command, or the Corps leader could attach one each to different subordinate leaders or any combination. Right, okay. During the order phase, players allocate orders to their leaders or garrisons. One of 2 order types may be given: attack or reserve. An order can be given to any leader, including an overall commander that has subordinate units. An order can be given to a leader entering as a reinforcement. An order can also be given to a garrison, regardless of the presence of a leader in the garrison. A leader does not need to be in command of his superior leader to receive an order. The leader and all his subordinate units and their subordinate units and so on down to the bottom of the command hierarchy are also in command are affected by the order. So the more senior a leader is in the command hierarchy, the more units the order applies to. Orders that are placed on an overall commander apply only to him and to the combat units that report directly to him. So that's an exception to this. Placing orders, you can only receive 1 order per turn. To give a leader an order, place the attack or reserve order markers on the leader. To give a garrison an order, place an order marker on any hex within the garrison. The number of orders a player can assign directly to subordinates of a Corps leader is limited to that Corps leader's efficiency rating. value. Then you get an example. Then we've got stacking. Stacking limit chart shows the max. Oh, so it's based on terrain. This is cool. Allows maximum number of strength points that can be placed in a hex of a given terrain type. Okay, that makes sense if you think about it, right? A lot of games do not do that as a, it's a little bit extra complication because it's more to keep track of. But they do provide a chart for it. Any number of markers may stack. That's typical. Any number of leaders may stack. Also typical. Leaders, one person. So when you're talking about regiments and so on, it's, not that big a deal. Or companies or whatever. I forget what it is. Having just read the back of the box, I already forgot. Combat unit restrictions. Cavalry cannot voluntarily stack with any other types of combat units. Units are not allowed to voluntarily exceed the strength point stacking limits of a hex. Friendly and enemy units can't stack together ever. That makes sense. Joining a stack, combat units that end their movement in the same hex as other combat units must adopt the same formation and facing as the units already in the hex. Units that do not have enough movement points remaining to make the formation or facing change cannot enter the hex. Okay. Exception is artillery that is stacked with infantry may have a different facing than the infantry and may be limbered or unlimbered. Okay. Stacking order is important for combat morale and movement. Units may change stacking order only when allowed to voluntarily move. A stack expends 1 movement point to change stacking order. I'm sure you guys know what that means. That means the order in which they are in the stack is kind of relates to where they are inside the hex in terms of being forward, to the rear, etc. Units in formation, so we talk about facing, right? Here's the front. You got 2 on the flank, which are the sides, and then 2 to the rear. That makes sense. Artillery is a little different here because it looks like your infantry line formation is facing a vertex, whereas your column facing faces a hex side, and your road column also faces a hex side. So only line formation, which makes sense, right? Line, line, I guess, would face a vertex as opposed to a hex side. Because I'm assuming the roads probably run like this, which then makes sense for road and column. So rules for changing, facing, formation changes. You can only change formation at specific times, movement or reserve movement. As a reaction formation change, so there is a reaction to an enemy movement, I would assume is what that means. When it enters a broken or rout morale state, it leaves its current formation. When it rallies from broken or rout to shaken and must enter column. And during advance after combat into medium density terrain or high density terrain types. So the terrain forces them to change formation. Column, line, road, stacking for that. How artillery is affected. Morale, units in road column immediately become broken when enemy moves adjacent because they are not ready for combat if they are in road column. Combat, units in road column are not allowed to make fire attacks, nor are they allowed to assault or charge. You got your skirmishers in tirailleurs. I don't know. The game system offers 2 modes of deploying skirmishers. Unit that employs a portion of its troops as skirmishers to act in close concert with the parent unit, or is said to be in tirailleur. A unit that employs entirely or almost entirely into skirmish order is said to be in debandada. Okay, I think that makes sense. I understand that. All right. Then you've got how you deploy them, how you recall them. Facing, stacking, formation. So the ability to have skirmishers is pretty good. That was definitely a big thing in 19th century warfare. And so you got all kinds of rules here for skirmishing. And here's our overlay, right? And so you have one that is this one. With 1 hex at the bottom, and it's kind of vertex at the bottom, as you can see, right? And then the other one is a hex side at the bottom. So depending on your unit facing, that would determine what you use, and that is for artillery. Okay, so that makes sense. And you've got morale, and we got a nice flow chart here for morale state diagram. There are 5 morale states: normal, disordered, shaken, broken, and rout. There's no marker for the normal morale state, but the other ones all have a marker. Morale checks. For a stack to take a morale check, roll 2 dice and add all modifiers from the appropriate charts. If the modified result is less than or equal to the top unit in the stack. Yeah, okay. All right, I feel like I'm dragging a little bit. Then we got rally checks. And so these are the different things that will tell you what the effects of being disorder, or I want to say disordered, it just says disorder. Disordered, units in disorder. Okay, that makes sense, right? They still move and fight normally, but apply the following detrimental effects. They're marked with a disorder marker, and units in disorder retain the same facing and formation as if they were in the normal morale state. They are not allowed to voluntarily change formation even as a reaction. Okay, so that is I guess the main or only negative there. And then you have broken, you have this shaken, broken, routed, or rout. Units that are in rout, you have all around facing. They do not exert a zone of control. Routed units not allowed to move voluntarily. Movement rules: voluntary movement, movement allowance, restrictions. They can't exceed their movement allowance. They may not skip hexes, cannot save movement points. Most of these are pretty standard. They can't transfer them. Right. These are all pretty standard rules. Stacking. Then we got more the how morale affects it: road column, hex-based movement, retreating rules, terrain, stacking, formation, zones of control. You can't retreat into an EZOC, right? Additional retreat. Leaders are not required to retreat with units they're stacked with. Reinforcements, and then zones of control. Following never exert zone of control: limbered artillery, units in road column, units that are in broken or rout, morale states, and leaders. That all makes sense. Line of sight. How is line of sight worked out? Determination for various terrain and distances. You got a nice little chart here. Combat units to which line of sight is blocked cannot themselves block line of sight. Combat units that are on the same elevation level as both endpoints are an obstacle to line of sight. Okay. Combat units that are on a different elevation level than either of the 2 endpoints are not an obstacle. Contours, crests, ridges, blocking hexes, determining slope. Okay. This all seems reasonably sensible. Or sensible, I should say, not reasonably, it's sensible. Fire combat, how that works. So you have conducting an attack. It's directed against a target hex, not a particular unit. So it's hex, not unit. All units in a target hex are affected by the result of a fire attack against the hex. Fire attacks are made 1 stack at a time, with 1 stack firing at 1 target. The hex may be the target of any number of fire attacks during a turn and during a single phase or segment. Okay, and then you've got range. So line, column, or square have a range of 1. And they can only fire at front hexes in their front hex. Infantry in line or column with skirmishers deployed, SET, so Tiralor, or that are in SE. Okay, so skirmishers, either one, I guess, have a range of 2 hexes. And artillery can fire up to limit of its range, referred to the artillery charts. Restrictions: you can only make fire attacks through their front side hexes. They must have clear line of sight. Skirmishers do not require a clear line of sight. Stacking: stacks may not make fire attacks against multiple target stacks. They can't split their fire. Fire strength for artillery, infantry, mixed artillery and infantry. Fire strength modifiers: target stacking, leader, fire attack resolution. So you got a fire chart results, etc. Got close combat rules here. How is assault initiated? Restrictions: infantry only. right? That makes sense. Cavalry does charging, which is different. Here's the charge rules right here. We won't get into this until we do gameplay. I just wanted to really hit the highlights, but as I tend to do, I tend to go long. Then you've got reactions. Okay, so you have reaction fire, you have reaction formation changes, reaction charge check, conducting a reaction charge, cold steel, terrain effects, fortified post markers. So that's medium density terrain, that's heavy density terrain. Example of earthworks, Redon, Lunette, Redoubt, and weather effects. And then we got the battalion game, and I won't get into those, just understand that the battalion game, the rules for that go pretty deep. Yeah, it's still going. It goes to 95, I believe. Yeah, and so then you have the brigade game. And then at the back, we have some notes. So you have your credits and your designer notes. So that is the rule book. And I know that took a while. I will put a bookmark so that you can skip it if you do not wish to watch that. Here's our companion book. Okay, so this one runs 160 some pages. So you've got introduction on the 2 battles, right? So this is the introduction to Rolica, Rolica, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, yeah, terrain, command, no British leaders may roll for orders initiative. Irish wagon train, Wellesley, also known as Wellington. And you have all of this stuff. You got the scenarios, tactical withdrawal. Right, so you got scenario details. Then you've got deploy in the French setup, British reinforcements. So you can see you get great detail. Here's the map for the detail. The French will be up here. Nice, cool artwork. I like the artwork that they include. Scenario 2, Scenario 3, order of battle. The history. There's a nice period map, I'm assuming, maybe, or at least a research map. Great history here. This is fantastic. There he is. The Duke, before he was the Duke. Here's Vimeiro. And you have scenarios for Vimeiro. Dispositions for the first attack on Vimeiro Hill. French, British. This is very nice. And then more here. That's still scenario. That was scenario 3. Scenario 4, your plan. The scenario is the player's chance as the French player to try and apply the trait of being a general in charge of a battle. Okay. Junot's plan was relatively simple. It was in the execution that he failed. List of his mistakes. Again, I don't even know which scenario I'll play yet. I'll have to dig through this and see what calls to me, what I think would be a good one for that. Then you've got the history article, which again is greatly detailed, lengthy. You've got biographies of the big players, as you know. And then back here, you've got the scenario pack. So this contains additional scenarios for First Victories Wellington versus Napoleon. Early start for Rolica. Another one for Rolica. There's a lot of stuff in here. Wow. And then back here we have more history. There's just a ton in this. I mean, what is this back here? Oh, scenarios. This is great. Get the... this is fantastic. I love it. Then we have designer notes, credits, player aids. There's your terrain effect chart. We'll see all of this, so I don't want to go through it. And we got some ads here. Close quarters battles. Haven't seen that yet. All right. So let's look at the player aids, and then we'll do the maps. These would be the player aids. All right. So here we have, this is the battalion and brigade game charts. Okay, so this is player aid card 2. Got your movement rates. The reddish ones are, they apply to the brigade game down here. That's what the red ones are. So everything else is battalion, and the red is brigade. So they are together. Here's your fire chart. The battalion game artillery, the brigade game artillery. So you can see right here that you've got 3 different types. Round, canister, and shell. That's cool. All right. And then the terrain effects chart on the back. And we've got the player aid card 3. I know I'm holding it up too high, probably. So here's your counter designation of what everything is here, what they look like. So we can take a closer look at this. So there you have your overall commander, Messina in this case. Then a leader, a cavalry unit, an infantry unit. There's the crossed belts, 2 crossed belts. 1 cross belt, I guess, is cavalry, right? That makes sense. Here's artillery. That's its canister, round shot and shell, counter ID markings, markers, pull back a little bit, your type of ornament, which indicates what the unit is, leader echelon, and your unit size. There's your morale chart that we saw, our artillery cones of fire, allowed formations and terrain, your zone of control effects chart, leader casualty summary, charging zones, reactions, reaction fire, reaction formation, reaction charge, etc., etc. Here's the brigade player aid card. So this is only for the brigade game, I suppose. The brigade game markers. Opening and closing the line of battle, or the center, the grand column. So you can see this. Right. Okay. Then we have the French command display for Vimeiro. So you can see, right, your commanders, what units they had underneath them. There's your 1st division over here. Reserve. And 2nd division. Single-sided. And then here we have the British. So Wellesley at Rolica, his command, and at Vimeiro, his command. Did I miss something? Did I miss one? Maybe I missed one. I feel like I'm missing something here. I think it's tucked in with the map. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, let's see. Here there they are. They're underneath the counter sheets. I was like, where is the soldier game stuff and all that stuff, right? So here we have the sequence of play. So this is battalion and brigade game procedures. You can see your weather command segment. So this would be battalion and brigade, it says. Yeah, you can see you've got artillery resupply and fatigue recovery and things that aren't in the soldier game. Okay. British artillery at both. Right, so you can see some of the detail here. And then the French are on the back. Not much French artillery at the one battle, Rolica. Okay, this is the turn track for Vimeiro. On this side is the turn track for Rolica. Okay, and then here is the soldier game chart, which is all of one, two-sided. Here's the fire chart, fire strength modifiers. So you got, firing stack, target stacking, morale check, DRM down here. Charge defender, here's your cold steel odds and losses, determination, artillery chart, your charge, and hand-to-hand. On the back, you got your TEC and your movement rates, so you can see the movement rates for normal and out of command for all the various items, all the various unit types, movement point cost, and stacking limits based on terrain. All right. Now these are markers, so let's hold off on those for a second. These are the counters. This is counter sheet 3 and 4. Okay, so 3 and 4 are your actual units. So here we go. There's Wellesley, Bathurst, Hill. So you got your leaders up here. You've got some artillery, some cavalry with the single cross belt, some infantry as well. Right, so you see all of this stuff. It's all double-sided. Right. So there's your, here's your replacement leader, what that looks like. It says Spencer, Mackenzie, and Byrne. On the other side is Wellesley, Hill, and Ferguson. So you get the idea. Here's some more. Here you've got Junot, Brenier, Tomier, Lausanne, Thibault, Benares. You got some markers in here as well. And the units. There's Kellerman. And both sides. Other side here. Okay, you get the general gist. Then we have our markers. This is number 2. So we have some various markers in here. Limber, ammo low. Assault markers, line of battle, I guess. Left in front. Charge, square. So you have formation stuff here as well. Okay, and then we have blue ones. So the pink, I'm assuming, is the British, and the blue is the French. They seem to be basically the same. Just different colors. So one set for each side. That is that. Now let's talk about the cards. So we have unit cards. So this is what a unit card looks like on one side. So it tells you what counters compose that unit, I guess, basically. And on the back, well, this is for artillery. So this is not the same card that we just saw, but you see information about it. Let me open this up. So this is the unit we were looking at when we were looking at the information on the back. Now, on this side, this is obviously a British unit, right? This is what I showed you first. This is what's on the back here. And it gives you history of the unit and its nickname and its honors, I guess, where it fought. Fought at Waterloo. So it's a little historical flavor, I guess. And I think that's pretty neat. There's a whole bunch of these. I mean, I guess one for each unit in the game. That is interesting. So that's one. And then we have this one here, which I think is more of the same. This would be the Glasgow Highland. So more of the same. I won't open this one because they're the same, but maybe I'll show them again when we play. We do have the dice, 2 red and 2 blue. You can see they're 10-siders. We have the D100, I guess, first digit 2 pair here, one for the French, one for the Brits, and then the single digits as well. And then we have our solitaire assistant cards, solo assistant cards. So this is an action card, and you can see kind of it tells you fire target selection, movement, close combat, and reaction. And then there's another one here that this is a command card. Now, I didn't get into the solo rules. They are actually in the they're in one of these books, I think, if I remember correctly. They're in, I think, this book. I think they're in the companion book, if I remember correctly. Yeah, solo assistant right here, page 128. So if we go to that would be after all the scenarios, I guess. Solo assistant. And all of this stuff about how you use the cards, your command cards, to determine your posture. So here's the command card that we can see right there. It's actually the same card. But card number, the type, the first player determination, orders initiative, orders matrix, leader name, replacement. These, I believe, let you play either way. So you can play as the British or as the French. You don't have to play one side or the other, which I think is kind of cool. So those drive the action, and they're probably, I haven't really dug into them, but they're probably similar to the solo assistant that Nations at War and World at War 85 use, I would guess. So those are the cards, leaving the last, but certainly not least, element to look at, and that is the maps. And I have to dig them out here. I got a big old pile of stuff now. So there are 2 maps. One of them is relatively not large. I would say that is this one. I'm actually going to turn it sideways so we can see the whole thing. Let me pull out a little bit. Okay, so this is the Battle of Rolica, which I probably am not pronouncing correctly. It lays fairly flat. It's heavy cardstock. So it's not mounted, but it is heavy cardstock. It's pretty thick. So you can probably do some gentle back folding or stick a piece of, clear something in front of it to keep it nice and flat. So I'm just going to pick it up for a second. You can see the town, get a little detail on what the artwork looks like. Very nice. You've got a scale here for the elevation. And you can see you've got high elevation down here at the bottom. And the art, I believe, was done by Terry Doherty, who designed the game. It's kind of a one-man shop almost here. It's very nice. I like the style. Nice hand-drawn look. And this is the Vimeiro map. And here's Toledo right here. And it's got the same elevation, so your more yellow is the higher elevation levels, like level 8, for example, and you got a little marker here. I believe that indicates that. You've got some entry points along the bottom here, some D, C, B, and A. So this is colored for the British, and this one is colored for the French, I think. But you can see the map here. It's very nice. I really like these maps. I got to be honest with you. Very, very nice. Very well done. The detail, the little city with the detail of the buildings and things. This is very nice. Excellent. I am suitably impressed, I guess I would say. So that is the map, which was the last thing I was going to show you, except for the expansion. So let's take a quick look at that. Let me clean this off. Okay, so I took it out of the bag, as you can probably tell. And here are our rules, right? So this would be the assault on the Western Ridge for the Battle of Vimeiro, August 28th, 1801. So you've got Wellesley mentioned here. Now you can see here, let's pick this up. I love the spiral binding, by the way, very nice. You have the Western map and the Vimeiro map. So this sits on top, I guess, and it overlaps. So you get this extra area to work in. This is an expansion module for First Victories Wellington versus Napoleon, which is a game in the Glory and Empire system. This is not a standalone game. That game is required to play this module. And you've got terrain, fords, fortified hope, British commands Hill, General Hill. Change the Wellesley summons General Hill random event to Hill seizes the initiative. Okay, French cavalry, special rules, the Irish wagon train. And then you got your scenarios. So there are 2 scenarios in here. Got the attack on the Western Ridge. And then I think the other one is called Your Land. This is a little warped at the top, like it got wet or something. Doesn't change anything, really. Just a little bit of a bummer there, I guess. Scenario 2, Your Plan. You can see the timing of it. French have initiative. And you got the play area is the entire Vimeiro and Western map. So that's kind of cool. And here is that Western map. Actually, I think it's oriented this way. Maybe. Now I got to check. Yeah, I got it right. This is the orientation for it. And like I said, it sits in that upper left-hand corner of the base game map for Vimeiro. So that is the expansion and the contents of the Glory and Empire First Victories Wellington versus Napoleon game, first game in the series. Curious to see what follows here in the coming month, years, etc. But that's going to do it for this one. This is one of those deluxeified first looks I've attempted from time to time where I did a little bit deeper dive into the rules. So I hope you enjoyed that if you did watch it. But otherwise, yeah, we're basically done. So as I always do, I ask if you have comments or questions. You can put them in the comment section and I'll do my best to reply. I do appreciate you guys watching. I hope you will consider liking, sharing, and or subscribing. But even if not, I hope you enjoyed the video and will come back to check out something else down the road. And that is going to do it. I'm out. My name's Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.